Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honors, and glories unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem HaKodash, double honors to my apostles and elders of great millstone that do enable well. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the members of the elect, the elect of the 1/3. Shalom. This is Brother Dawadah from the GMS Detroit camp, coming at you with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem HaKodash. Today, this will be a response to this video posted by Vocab alone. All right, which the spirit had me going to half. We'll do a video response to half of what he was saying within this video. Now I'm going to do a response to the other half through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, which means Lord's will. This video will be edifying. So the other half, the other half of this video, which I responded to, is posted on my channel. So if you want to check that out, it's posted. And we're going to get directly into this other half. So let's see what this devil has to say.
We're going to serve us for all eternity. Now, Hebrew Israelites of the One West variety who think other nations can't be saved think this means other nations are going to serve us for all eternity in the kingdom.
Which we already went into, right? The other nations, they're going to serve us for 1,000 years in hardcore slavery, but then after 1,000 years, they're going to be allowed to go to their lands, all right? They're still going to have to keep our laws, statutes, and commandments. They're still going to be subject unto us, all right? They're still going to be tributaries unto us. We're still going to be over them. But we're going to let up off them. We're going to allow them to go into their lands. They're going to have their own little thing going on. But guess what? We're still going to be over them. They're still going to have to keep our laws, statutes, and commandments. They're still going to have to be in order, all right? They're still going to be tributaries unto us. You see? But as for Esau, he's going to be done away with. As in the eye which have seen him shall see him no more. All right?
And the reason why I went down that rabbit trail is because they'll say, so Jesus is reading from about the good news in Luke 4, and he read from Isaiah 61, and he's doing this when he comes back. So the good news, and it depends how crass they are, some will use colorful language here, the good news is we're going to be kicking other nations' butts for all eternity.
Well, that is good news. Good news for us. Bad news for you. You know? Which, once again, they're not going to be in slavery for all eternity. All right? Once again, 1,000 years of hardcore slavery. After that, we're going to let up off them. You know? Psalm 149, except for Esau, he's just going to be done away with. He's going to be a thing of the past. Psalm 149 and verse 5. Let the saints, who are the saints? The Israelites. All right? Psalm 50 and 8 tells us that. Gather my saints together, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. Who are the only ones that made a covenant with the Lord by sacrifice? The nation of Israel. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. When is that going to happen? In the kingdom. Because as is written, all right, how does it go? During the days of Yahushua, Jacob was captured held, the kingdom of heaven suffered the violence, and the violence taken by force. Meaning the Roman Empire was put in hell upon the nation of Israel, particularly Judah, Benjamin, Levi, right? Then, even in this day and age, the saints are not singing aloud upon their beds. The Israelites, as soon as we get up, we're pissed off. We get awoken by the alarm clock, usually because we got to go into work. So we get pissed off, we're frustrated, right? So they're not, the Israelites aren't singing aloud upon their beds right now because they're in slavery. This is going to happen in the kingdom. Let the high praise of the Most High be in their mouth, which that's this knowledge, this truth. And a two-edged sword in their hand. That's literal. We're going to have a literal sword in our hand in the kingdom of heaven to do what? To execute vengeance upon the heathen. Who are the heathen? The other nations. And punishments upon the people. What people? These other nations. It says to bind their kings with chains. Who are their kings? These top wicked elite, the international bankers, are going to be bound with chains, and their nobles with feathers of iron. Slavery. To execute upon them the judgment written, which is what? Revelation 13 and 9 and 10. He that hath an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. You can't get around this. That's the judgment that is written. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So this is an honor for the saints to do this. And guess what? it says what? Praise ye Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. This is something worth praising the Lord for. That he's going to allow those that enslaved us for they themselves to be put in captivity, put in slavery. Isaiah 14 verses 1 and 2. See? So what's this clown vocab talking about? Well, let's grab it. Let's go to Isaiah 14. See, vocab, you're losing. You're losing. You're looking bad right now. Isaiah 14 verse 1. For Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai will have mercy on Jacob. Right. And we yet choose Israel. See? Not these other nations. And set them, the Israelites, in their own land. Right, because the real Israelites are not in that land right now. As written, and a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod. See? Who's that bastard? These rats within our land. Amalek, as it were. Alright? They're dwelling in Ashdod, which, if I'm not mistaken, I know Ashdod is in the land of Israel, but to be more specific, I believe it's a coastal city in the land of Israel. Alright? So there's a bastard dwelling within our land. See? And the strangers shall be joined with them, which is whom? The Israelite foreigners. They shall cleave to the house of Jacob, dealing with the Israelite foreigners. Because at one point, we were all Israelite foreigners. All right? We were all outside of this knowledge, this truth. So we didn't know our nationality. But once we heard this knowledge being taught by an apostle, an elder, or a brother, guess what? That brought us into this thing, and we clung onto what they were teaching. All right? We believed in it. All right? And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai for servants and handmaids. So this them that is referring to in this verse is Esau and the other nations. And they shall take them captives, meaning slaves, slavery, right? Whose captives they were. So those that enslaved us, they're going to be enslaved. And they shall rule over their oppressors. See? And how are we going to rule over our oppressors? With a rod of iron. You see, it's going to be a rigorous, all right, brutal captivity for the Esau and these other nations. And guess what? We're also going to rule over. We're going to be in power over them. See? This honor have all his saints. Praise ye Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. That's part of the good news.
And he's doing this when he comes back. So the good news, and it depends how crass they are. Some will use colorful language here. The good news is we're going to be kicking other nations' butts for all eternity.
We already explained it's not going to be for all eternity. But guess what? We'll kick these nations in the butt. And we're going to love doing it. All right? We're going to love doing it.
If they're the one rest variety, some will say this is just showing that in the future other nations will recognize their proper place and role, and it'll be like a butler relationship.
No, ain't no butlers. No. Whoever said that, they going off. There ain't gonna be no butler relationship. This is gonna be pure ass kicking. Ain't no butler. It's slavery. You talking about a butler? Are you kidding me? No. They ain't. Whoever said that, they going off. See? Revelation 9 and 10. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity, meaning slavery, shall go into captivity. Slavery. So-called white men put us in slavery, they're going to be enslaved. Not only the so-called white men, but all these nations have put us in slavery at one point or the other. So they're going to be in slavery. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. There you go. So this is what the true saints, the Israelites, are patiently waiting for. For those that put them in captivity, for they themselves to be put in captivity. All these nations have had a hand in afflicting the nation of Israel. So it's going to be their turn to get punished. Their turn to get afflicted. All right? Their turn to go into captivity. See? They all conspired to strip us of our nationality and not know, and for us not to know who we are. Therefore, it's only righteous, all right, that they get paid back for the wickedness that they've done. Galatians 6 and 7. Be not deceived, for the Most High is not mocked. For that which has been sowed, that shall he also reap. All right? Let's see. Let's go from there back to this video.
You know, think Bruce Wayne and Alfred or something like that.
No, ain't no Bruce Wayne and Alfred. No, this is slavery. And it ain't going to be like a walk in the park. No, this is going to be brutal. Talking about a butler. No. Revelation chapter 2 and verse 25. But that which ye have already, which is this knowledge, is truth. Hold fast till I come. Hold on to it. Hold on to this knowledge, this understanding. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. What are you going to do with the rod of iron? As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers. So they're going to be whacked upside the head. They're going to be thrashed. For a visual, just type in Bugs Bunny, Scepter, King commercial, something like that. Type that in. You'll see how Bugs Bunny has the roll apparel on, and he has that scepter. He's bashing that Edomite's head in. Bow, bow, bow. That's how it's going to be. They're going to get whacked upside the head. It's going to be brutal. Even as I received of my Father. Yeah, that's the same blessing that Yahweh Shai received. We're going to get it also because why? We're joint heirs with Yahweh Shai. Romans the 8th chapter. See? Let's keep going. Butler relation. No, it's slavery, buddy.
Nine version, right, of it. So you're still, and when we say other nations, they have different views of what other nations constitute.
Nope. Any nation outside the nation of Israel, they are the other nations. Very simple. Scripture speak about the simplicity which is in Yahweh Shai. This knowledge, this truth is supposed to be simple. All right?
So that's where you could say, okay, who do you believe constitutes Israel and what constitutes the other nations?
What? Who is an Israelite? And who? The Israelite is an Israelite. What do you mean? Who constitutes Israel? Ain't no faith-based Israelites. Ain't no Israelites because what I mean by no faith-based Israelite, meaning like a spiritual Israelite. That's what I'm trying to say. All right? Ain't no spiritual Israelites. Meaning, let's say a true Edomite, an actual Edomite, says, well, I'm spiritually Israel. No, it don't work like that. This is a thing of descent, nationality, bloodline. You see? All right? Scripture says one that slippeth with his tongue, but not with his heart. Because we are faith-based Israelites. We believe according to faith. Or we haven't actually physically seen Yahweh Shai with bodily eyes, yet we believe. Like it says in 1 Peter, the 1st chapter. See? So we believe according to faith. But what I was trying to say was we're not spiritual Israelites. We're Israelites by lineage, by descent. All right? Not no the spiritual church. No, ain't no spirituality in it. All right? It's about descent. Romans, the 9th chapter, tells us that.
Another question. If they say black, Native American, Hispanic, that means they hold the 12 tribes chart and they're one Westers.
And it's not, yes, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, but you also have the Israelites that have been scattered abroad that may look like these other nations, but their lineage goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. See, Vocab, he's just the devil.
The more radical kind. Oh, sorry. If you ask them who is Israel and they say black, Native American, and Hispanic, they're usually of the more radical, you're going to service forever variety.
Radical. See, you gotta watch out for this fork-tongued devil. You gotta watch out for this clown. He likes using that word radical. See, because there's certain buzzwords that as soon as people hear it, they're, oh, what, who, what? You know? Radical, conspiracy, cult, which they don't know the word. The word cult simply means worship. They don't even know the meaning of words. They're just throwing it around. That's all new speech. All right? New speak. All right? At one time, those words had a real definition, and all of a sudden, this new day and age, all of a sudden, the definition has been changed. Now it's more, like he would say, radical. Now it's more, now it has a whole other meaning than what it originally meant.
And they have this strange rainbow coalition version of Israel, right? Black, Native American, Hispanic. If you wanted to get scientific, which a lot of them deny, we all have what are called haplogroups.
Scriptures speak about endless genealogies. Haplogroups going into the DNA, haplogroups, E1, B1A, so on and so forth. All that constitutes as endless genealogies. Which the Apostle Paul said what? What did he say about these endless genealogies? Trying to figure out what haplogroup you are, trying to figure out, trying to figure out your genealogy. We believe according to faith. It ain't about no genealogy. Titus chapter 3 verse 9. But avoid foolish questions and genealogies. Yeah, like haplogroup. What haplogroup are you? See, if you ain't this haplogroup, then you not a Jake. It says avoid that. And contentions and strivings about the law, for they are unprofitable and vain. So going into your haplogroup, going into your genealogy, trying to figure all that out, that's unprofitable and vain. See? 1 Timothy 1:4. Neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies, which minister questions rather than godly edifying, which is in faith, so do. So that's not even edifying. All right? It's not edifying to go into your genealogy trying to figure all that out. All right? So vocab, he's going off again.
And we'll just talk about on our paternal, that's our father's side. When you have a 12 tribe chart that has the Seminole Indians with Jamaicans, with people in South America, you're putting people with radically different haplogroups together.
That's why the scripture says that none of the wicked shall understand. It's not about genealogy. It's not about haplogroup. All right? What I mean by it's not about genealogy, meaning you cannot physically prove, well, if you have this gene right here, that means that you're an Israelite. No. All right? It doesn't work like that. We believe according to faith. If someone can understand this word, if they're going through the curses that's written of in Deuteronomy 28, all right, so you say the Spirit, which is the word, beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. You see? So if they're going through the same things, then they'd have to be an Israelite by default.
There's no way they descend from the same father. Literally, it's impossible.
It's not a, whoa, time out. The so-called white man and the so-called Negroes, right? They both came out of the Israelites, right? And the Edomites came out of the same father. So what's this devil talking about? He does not know the scriptures. So-called, well, the Israelites and the Edomites came out of the same father, which was whom? All right? Isaac. So you don't know what he's talking about. And moreover, Jacob had what? 12 sons, which became what? The 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. So guess what? All right? Those tribes, right? Those tribes, because of course you got Ephraim and Manasseh that got joined onto there, therefore, thereby making up the 12 tribes. I should rather say it like that. Those 12 tribes had descendants, lineage, all right? They had offspring, okay? And guess what? All those tribes from Judah all the way down to Issachar, all right? Those tribes have been scattered, all right, throughout the four corners of the world. All Israel is scattered throughout the four corners of the world. So they don't look the same, okay? Obviously, they don't look the same because when Jake, let's say you got a so-called black man, he goes to China, guess what? He's dealing with them Chinese women. And the children, over the course of time, they're going to look differently. It's not about looks, all right? Scripture say, judge not according to appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Let's keep going.
Americans primarily have a haplogroup called Q. Inuits, they don't like the term Eskimo, so I say Inuit because it's an offensive term. It means fish eater, I guess. So go with Inuit. They have mainly C. Most black Americans have E, especially something called E1B1A. These are what geneticists have labeled haplogroup.
Now, don't the scripture speak about not worrying about your genealogy? Show me he's just the devil.
Groupings. And so Q is the big one, and then there's things like underneath it. C is the big one. So it shows you your male progenitor. So if it's your male progenitor, it's talking about your primary one, your haplogroup, because you have all kinds of other influences. This relates to something called autosomal DNA. It's these other little things that may relate to other ancestors, not the male progenitor. That is showing you who you came from. So if yours is Q, if a Native American's is Q, do
you see why the Apostle Paul said this was unprofitable and vain? Look how confusing it is. Look, how does this profit you? How does this profit you to receive salvation? How is this edifying? Now you see why the Apostle Paul said that it's not edifying? Look how confusing it is.
Black Americans is E. They cannot have the same father ancestor.
Yes, but they do. But they do. They go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right? Simple. Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, you also have Israelites that have been scattered abroad. It's that simple. But he can't get it. Why? Because as is written, none of the wicked shall understand. It's not about your haplogroups, not about any DNA tests. We believe we're Israelites according to faith. We can understand this word. If you understand this word, you have to be an Israelite. If you're going through the same curses, you have to be an Israelite.
I don't mean direct father. I mean going all the way. They cannot. It's impossible because it's two different haplogroups. The DNA shows
Endless genealogy.
you. So, and on the mother side, there's different issues there.
Even we don't deal with the mother side. Scripture says in the book of Numbers, they declared their pedigrees according to the lineage of their fathers. So he's going off yet again. So he, as you can see, he's just through. We don't really need any more of that. He just he obviously doesn't know the scriptures. So let's close out with Daniel 12, and I believe it's verse 10. Daniel chapter 12, verse 10. Many shall be purified and made white, and tried, meaning tested. But the wicked shall do wickedly. What he's doing right there was wicked, twisting the scriptures. All right? Coming against the truth. That's wickedness. But the wicked, which is a so-called white man, Malachi 1 and 4, shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand. Understand what? Understand the truth. But the wise, that's the elect of the nation of Israel, shall understand. All praises, honors, and glories be unto Yahweh, Baal Shem Yahushua, Baal Shem HaKadosh. Double honors to my apostles and elders, a very millstone, that do indeed well. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the members of the elect, and for one third. That being said, Shalom. Barak Ak, even if you that lesson. Shalom.